going to be a typical millennial and throw my phones down there. Sorry, I hate that word. You all having a good afternoon? You still awake? Yeah, come on. Shut up. He's my business partner, I'm allowed to tell him shut up. But yeah, thanks for having me. I know on the actual schedule I'm supposed to be somebody else, but just bear with me and just admire my shoes if you don't want to listen to what I'm saying. So who the hell am I and why am I on stage? I am the founder of Virtual Umbrella. You've probably seen our logo dotted around the place. But what we do, we're a marketing company, but we basically just do VR. That's all we are concentrating on. We do obviously AR as well, and we also do events. So we do a lot of conferences. I basically like to be on stage and talk about VR and dinosaurs, but that's not what I'm doing today. But yeah, and I've been in VR for about 3 years now, doing a variety of things, but Virtual Umbrella has been my life and soul and sweat and tears for the past 2 years, and it has been fantastic, because I've been able to work with a variety of people, from developers to large games companies to architects to engineers. It's been fantastic. So hopefully I can share a little bit of insight today. I will do this very quickly because I know it's getting to the end of the day and we all want to go home. So yeah, this is a little bit of an interesting statistic. I know that yesterday, if anyone was here, we were all saying that most statistics are made up, and most of them are, but this is quite an interesting one. So if any of you are aware of Mintel, they're based in London, they do a lot of analytics and stuff and research, but apparently they did some research just at the end of last year, and apparently only 11% have put on a VR headset, and I'm sure that's probably not the case here. We've all put headsets on, right? Yeah? Yeah? Yeah, okay, cool. I'm just trying to get you happy and excited. So yeah, I think that's a really, really interesting figure, and we've used it before in a couple of other presentations, and I do find that us that are working in the VR industry are in this kind of little bubble, aren't we? We all kind of think, yeah, everyone knows what VR is. We all try it all the time. I do it every day. But then when we are stepping out into the real world, people generally just look at it as a bit weird and go, what? I don't know what you're talking about. But I do like that figure. I do like looking at it. So just going back to kind of last year, so there's that whole saying of 2016 was the year of VR. I don't know, was it? I'm not sure. But kind of like the trends that led last year were kind of a couple on here. So obviously VR events led the way, especially for London. We kind of really figured out what we wanted from VR conferences, and I think we're getting there. I've seen a real variety, and it's been really nice to be involved with quite a few of them, from small community events up to conferences like this. And I'm not London, obviously not all of them are in London. There's some great ones in Bristol, Bournemouth, and up north as well, which you should definitely check out. Going alongside that, there was a lot of like VR cinemas that kind of hit 2016 as well, which I really enjoyed going to, and I felt like mobile VR really led the way on that one. We helped out with a VR cinema in Edinburgh last year for the Fringe, and it went really well, and people seemed to enjoy it because it was something to do during the day, or during Fringe, or to take their family to, because they couldn't really take them to the weird comedy sketches in the evenings. But I've seen them dotted around the place, and I've seen them especially in Europe, which I think is great. So that's definitely something that was kind of leading the way. Launches as well. So if anyone saw the PSVR launch at King's Cross Station, the huge PSVR? No? Well, I saw it, and Twitter saw it. But I thought that was a great example of just showing a headset actually leading the way and actually going, hey, we're here, come and buy me. And I thought that was a really good example. So kind of looking ahead and looking to this year, there are so many things I could say right now that will lead the way, and I'm sure every one of you has an opinion, and my opinion could be completely wrong to you. But I have a couple of ideas. I kind of feel, from my point of view, for the people that I work with, that we're gonna see, again, a few more brands, and non-entertainment platforms using, or industries investing their time into VR, but hopefully for long-term things. I think brands have done a really great job in the past couple of years of obviously investing a little bit of time and obviously money into creating VR productions and films and 360 content, but it'd be really nice to see things that are actually properly built into marketing strategies and that are a little bit more long-term. It's great having that 2-minute branded piece, but are you going to use it again? Did you waste all that time? Oh, no. It just blinked at me. Get off. But it would be really nice to actually see a little bit more of an invested strategy, and that's kind of what I do, and I talk to a lot of people about that. They come to me and they go, oh, I've got this idea, and I'm like, oh, it's all right, but we could really work on it and make it something that will actually benefit your audience or your consumers. So again, looking forward, these are just some random pictures, just to distract you from my face. But a couple of areas that we've been looking at in the past 6 months or so has really kind of made me really think about the next year and coming up. So I know there was a talk earlier about obviously like arcades and like cinemas and whatnot. So I kind of feel that, well, VR arcades in China are going to really, or they're already booming. And I'm hoping to see that come over here. But it's one of the perfect ways to get people interested in VR. I mean, a lot of people already do have headsets from the statistics we've seen already come out this year, but not everyone is going to be able to afford it, and obviously, or even have space in their living room. I've made space in my living room, and it's tiny, and I have an attic ceiling, and I consistently hit the roof with my Vive controllers. But again, if you want to be able to go somewhere and try everything, I think the VR arcades are great. And obviously in London, we have a couple of like pop-up shops, which is also equally great. I just want to see a few more and hopefully see them advertise a little bit more. We've been very, very lucky to work with a couple of engineering companies as well, and I really feel that they're going to help lead the way. It's so nice to, work with companies. So we worked with BAM last year, and it was so nice. They were so excited about the medium, but they really wanted to use it for a purpose. They wanted to use it for the people they worked with, their actual clients and themselves. And we've worked with them quite closely, and they're really, really, really enthused about it. And everywhere they go, they talk about it, and they're trying to encourage their partners and their other companies to invest a little bit of time into it. And then kind of leading away, again, I'd say is education, getting those kids happy, and obviously healthcare as well. But in the last couple of weeks, actually, I've had a lot more kind of education, the unis, the schools as well come to me and just go, it's all we want. We've been wanting it for ages. It's just now trying to find the best way of actually initializing it and putting it into their structures. It's great doing lectures, and it's great going in and going, oh, this is what it is, but it's now kind of figuring out the best way of actually letting them have it. We did a really exciting project with Hampshire Libraries last year, and we've just finished it now, basically figuring out if people wanted to have this kind of technology in their libraries, because they were trying to hit a certain age bracket to actually get the kids to come back into the libraries and utilize them, because obviously they've been going downhill for a long time. And we were really excited to get involved because I was really passionate about it, because I don't really go into a library myself, but I would love to help them get there. And we found it really positive. It was a really positive experience, because we found that yes, it was the kids were excited, the 14 plus were really excited to have it and have access to it and have workshops, but I found it was the 70 plus that were literally grabbing it from my hands and going, I want this. And I was like, oh, that's great. Which means that we can then look at different ways of implementing that and having great stories, or even just history projects, which I think will work out really nicely. But yeah, I could talk for days about things leading, but I think those kind of 3 things are really going to lead the way. And it's nice as well to see other industries. So there's a company called Spearhead Interactive, you've probably heard of, who recently just did a project with a court case, which is something not a lot of people hear about, but it'd be great, hopefully, to hear about these projects a little bit more. Just another thing as well that I always like to kind of ask the audience about, or actually just get them to think about, is the content. Obviously, VR gaming has been leading the way for such a long time, and it's great, and I've really enjoyed the content I've seen so far, but there's a couple of things I feel that will be coming out in 2017 which should actually be more like programmed content. When you go and try something, when you go to a conference or you talk to a developer, do you actually think, oh, this content was designed for me, or this content was made for me, this is something I would want to pick up every now and again. And that obviously might not relate to gaming, but that might be towards experiences. But I do like to think about that a little bit. And the piece above was done by VR City and the BBC recently, and I really enjoyed it. If you like listening to people chit-chat, have a coffee, chat about anything, that's something to really look at. So check on the website, because I really enjoyed it. Yeah, and that's it. If you want to ask me any questions, please do. If not, I will get off stage. Thank you. Yeah.
Is it you who's into the women in VR?
Yes, that's me as well. That's my. I can do, yes. So I do a lot of equality panels and things like that. I basically am just like a representative, and I make sure that there's hopefully women on stage. We have a group of a lot of passionate women that come together, go for coffees, talk about their problems in their companies, or if they're having any, just trying to find jobs, things like that. We're just a support unit. But I've done a lot of talks over the past year about that, just making sure that companies obviously are aware of diversity. And I know it's a really dodgy subject to talk about because nobody really wants to touch upon it, but I've been that person that's had to, and it's been quite a positive response recently, so it's a good one. But yeah, if you go on Twitter, there's loads of groups on there, and they're all really, really supportive. There's a huge Facebook group that's mainly full of like LA and Silicon Valley people, but there is a group in the UK that are doing their best to kind of support that industry. No worries. Yes. Ah, hello.
I just wanted to ask that, like, how did you get into VR?
How did I get into VR? I fell into VR in a really weird way. I used to work in a theatre, so I used to paint sets and manage weird events like comedy nights and pantos, and I ended up changing career paths and joining a gaming company. And as I joined the games company, they were moving away from what they were doing and going into designing for virtual reality. So it's, in my interview, I got to try the DK1, and literally something clicked in my head, and I was like, this is great, I love this. How can I use my passion and my enthusiasm for it to better the world? If I can, I try. I'm trying. I'm just gonna... But yeah, thank you.